Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Courtside Soundoff podcast today. I'm Josh Soundoff. He's Andy Ortega. A lot of stuff to talk about this week. It is UFC 255 fight week. Figueroa versus Perez. Amazing card. We also got to talk about the NBA draft and a lot more news. Before we get into that, I'll talk to you guys about Rogue Energy. This episode of the Courtside Soundoff podcast is brought to you by Rogue Energy. Rogue Energy was founded in January 2017 to be the best gaming drink in the world. They've developed a premium stack in the form of a delicious energy and focus drink that is designed to help replace unhealthy canned energy drinks, coffee, and even traditional pre-workouts. Rogue Energy is sugar-free and is loaded with vitamins, antioxidants, and nootropics. They designed Rogue Energy for the emerging professional competitive gaming market. It continues to have fantastic carryover and success with students, athletes, entrepreneurs, and anyone looking to optimize their mental and physical performance. If you want 10% off your order, use the code SOUNDOFF at checkout. That's code SOUNDOFF at checkout for 10% off of all your energy needs. Last Saturday night, we saw, honestly, it was a really awesome fight, but really weird decision. But getting into the main event, we all heard the story about Paul Felder stepping up on, I believe it was 5 days notice, 6 days notice, taking on former champ Rafael dos Anjos, moving back down to 155. And listen, man, this is a banger of a fight right here. Paul Felder stepping down on only a couple days notice, not even training, hadn't even been in the gym, and this man showed up to just throw hands. And honestly, I thought he was winning the exchange on the feet. I thought he was winning early for sure. But as the course of the fight went on, we saw Rafael dos Anjos get into a groove. He started mixing in the takedowns, and you could tell, like, listen, this is a guy who's a former champ. He had the cardio advantage, and he also had the advantage of actually having a camp. He started to wear down Paul Felder, and in the end, he ended up winning a decision, not a unanimous decision, despite most people thinking he took all 5 rounds. In fact, if you guys, in my opinion, I've been watching MMA for a long time. I consider myself a historian of the sport as far as it goes, and paying attention to like a lot of the older stuff and watching old fights and all that. Paul Felder somehow got a scorecard in the fans like the worst scorecard of all time. One judge thought he won 48-47, but further than the meme of Felder 48-47, Angel, what did you think about Rafael dos Anjos' performance last Saturday night?
You know, well played. Shout out to Paul Felder for stepping up on to the plate and doing his best. But hey, man, RDA looked great. He fought the fight he needed to fight. He attempted 22 takedowns. That was the play. Nothing impressive on the feet, to be honest. Nothing really great there. Paul was superior on the feet. RDA was superior on the ground. Obviously, he did have some decent moments in the stand-up, but nothing special. He won it. He came in. He had the right game plan. Clinch, took the takedowns. Did what he had to do. Paul Felder obviously had probably the right idea, just was fully able to execute it with staying on the feet, keeping it in the center of the octagon, not trying to get near the cage, prevent the clinch. But hey, man, that's how it goes sometimes. Paul Felder, like 3.5 day notice or whatever it was realistically, had to cut a lot of weight, made it first guy on the scale. Shout out to him. He said he's not done with MMA. I know that we talked not too long ago about that whenever he had his last fight, that maybe that was a possibility that, he wasn't too far out of like not wanting to return to the octagon and kind of the end of it. But he said he kind of found his passion once again through in MMA, and he's not done. He wants to keep fighting, and he looked good, and he just, I think maybe with a better camp and not, I'll put it like this. He might have lost probably mostly every round, if not every round, but managed to still look really good for pretty much 3 days notice. It almost makes you wonder what he could have done with, an X amount of day camp.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I mean, he looked really, really good, especially on the feet. Especially considering, like I said, he took it on really short notice, and I mean, I guess I'm like a little bit disappointed in a way, because we all wanted the story of Paul Felder to win, and it was a good performance by Rafael dos Anjos. I mean, let's not take anything away from him here at all.
Former champion.
Yeah,
Come
former
on,
champ. You're right, my bad, man, my bad. But
I always love saying that.
Listen, man, I came out more impressed with Paul Felder, man. I mean, we knew he was like a top 10 guy, but we didn't know how far he could really go in RDA. I mean, yeah, he lost some times at welterweight, but whenever he left 155, he was the second best lightweight on the planet behind Tony Ferguson and Eddie Alvarez at the time when he left. But listen, man, like, I came out more impressed with Paul Felder just purely off of the fact that, like, bro, he looked phenomenal on the feet. I think I gave him maybe one round. Now, like I said, the judge that did give the judge that gave Paul Felder the fight has to be. I mean, I said on Twitter after the fight that was the worst scorecard of all time. I mean, that, like, literally the worst scorecard of all time. Nothing even comes close, to be completely honest. But regardless, still a great performance by both of those guys. It was a banger of a fight. It was an absolute war. It won fight of the night. Absolutely. I mean, sometimes UFC does really weird stuff for fight of the night, but I'm glad to see they both got 50K extra in their pocket at the end of the night. But moving on from the main event, moving down to the co-main, Chaos Williams. This is a bad motherfucker, bro. I mean, listen, there's not many dudes who scare me in MMA that, like, I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because I'm, like, around the sport. Chaos Williams is a scary motherfucker, all right? He's going out there. He's facing Abdul Hazak El Hassan, who's just an absolute beast, dude. I mean, this is a dude who, yeah, you know what? He's older now. He did lose 2 or 3 years of his career, but at the end of the day, this is still a knockout artist, a dude who's had every single one of his fights in the UFC. He's either been like a knockout, a performance of the night, or a KO, like, or a fight of the night. Beat guys like Nico Price, Sabaho Masi. And he got smashed in 30 seconds by Chaos Williams. First knockout loss in Abdul Hazak Al Hassan's career, and then he gets on the mic and says the illest line of all time. He says something along the lines of, I keep on seeing all those dudes out here sleeping on me. If they keep on sleeping on me, it's gonna end up being the doctor waking them up or some shit like that. And I'm like, God damn, man, like this is one scary, man. But what were your thoughts on Chaos Williams, man? I mean, this is a guy that going in we honestly didn't know a whole lot about, and now he was one of the most talked about fighters coming out of the card.
Hey, man, he did what he had to do. I mean, it was nasty knockout. I mean, put him out stiff. I mean, guys get knocked out, but when you see a guy stiffen up, that's a little scary. And Al Hassan there stiffed up at the end like a board, like not even trying to be funny, just being, serious. It was that was insane. Still early in the UFC career, we got to see it develop, right? That's definitely like a good way to put everybody on notice. And hey, man, keep carrying that same energy. That's how you're gonna do it. Keep carrying that same energy, and we'll see you continue to perform.
Yeah, man. And in the words of Jeremy Stevens, when he hits people, they don't fucking move. All right, this kid is a knockout artist.
Literally, that literally happened.
Exactly, very, very young and huge potential for the kid. I can't wait to see where he goes from here. But was there anything on the undercard you want to talk about?
Oh man, bro, I talked to you about this probably. I brought him up when he fought what was it, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago? I can't even tell you now.
October 31st.
Yeah, October 31st. It's now November 14th. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Now 3 weeks because of where we're at. But in regards to when he last fought, Sean Strickland, man, beating Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen was finally fighting his ranked opponent, young kid. I was very, adamant about how he does, I'm not, I had my opinions about some stuff that had happened since he had fought Kevin Holland, beat Kevin Holland, submitted Kevin Holland. But I mean, Sean Strickland, man, he's lost 3 times in his career. 2, I don't know what the third one is. 2 are to current champion Kamaru Usman and former contender Santiago Ponzinibbio, who we could be seeing return soon. And Sean Strickland was just now fighting a ranked young opponent on short notice at a catch weight. Get this man another ranked opponent. Sean Strickland's the shit, man.
And
looked great out there.
By the way, his only other loss is Zaleski dos Santos, who is, I want to say he's like something like 10-3 in the UFC, with his only losses being to Nicolas Stalby, Li Chonglang, and Muslim Sivikov. Dude is a beast as well, so he's only lost to the best.
Yeah, and he was just now fighting a ranked opponent again for the first time in who knows how long. And mean, obviously the opposition has to get better, man, and hopefully he can get into another fight soon. I'm sure that KO or TKO or whatever, however you want to word it, definitely put some eyes on him, and hopefully, as far as matchmaking, hopefully they can get him another ranked fight or another decent name, because I mean, dude, guy, I think he was out because of an injury maybe or something like that. I don't know what it was, but dude's the real fucking deal. 22-3 in his MMA career. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like I tell you, he was just now getting another ranked opponent. It was it was a short notice type of thing, and it was just kind of like a luck thing. But I think as far as Sean Strickland getting this opportunity, he took very big advantage of it, and kind of sucks for Brendan Allen because of kind of his trajectory. It's kind of taken a turn, but hey, man, I mean that happens. We've seen it with other people who are young in the UFC. He has plenty of time to recover from this loss and learn from it. I'm not worried, and hopefully we see him come back, and he learns from this fight.
Yeah, and look, man, I mean, he had one loss. I mean, it's one loss. He'll be fine. I'm not really worried about the kid. He's still only 24. He'll be back. But shout out Sean Strickland, like you said, this dude, he's looked phenomenal. I think he had I want to say it was like a motorcycle accident or something that kept him out for like a long time. Comes back and he's been beasting ever since. So absolute props to the man. And yeah, like I said, it was actually a motorcycle accident. He took 2 years off, and since then, big wins over Jack Marshman and Brendan Allen. So great way to come back for him. As for the rest of the card, though, Ashley Yoder picking up a dominant win over Miranda Granger. Kay Hansen getting robbed on the main card opener. That's that for some reason her fights are almost always close. Like I've never seen her on like the good side of a close decision though. Like she either wins her fights dominantly or she loses a split decision. So I can't really explain it, but that's just how it is apparently. And then for the rest of the card, Kanako Murata, like I said, I pointed her out as somebody to watch, and she picked up a dominant win over Randa Marcos. And then Alex Morono defeating Reese McKee on the early prelims. Reese McKee was the kid who got fucked up by Cosmot on like 10 days' notice. So I was hoping to see some good things out of him. I mean, it was a fun fight, but Alex Morono picking up the big win there. But moving on to the big card, I mean, we hyped it up last week. This is a banger of a fight card. And I understand it's going to do like 50 pay-per-view buys, but this is, in my opinion,
Josh is like, I'm one of them.
No,
so 49.
ICs, my friend. But that's just how I am.
You're going to your local Buffalo Wild Wings for this one, Josh?
My local Buffalo Wild Wings, for sure. Absolutely, 110%. But but outside of that, though, this card's a banger, dude. And I'd say like even from like the early prelims, bro, this is just a straight up banger of a fight card. But let's start in the main event, bro. So there's like a lot of storylines about this fight that are not being talked about, and I get it because it's not a big fight, literally and figuratively. But Deiveson Figueiredo, man, I mean, this is a guy. Even whenever he was like beating guys like Tim Elliott, Alexander Pantoja, John Moraga. He was kind of being slept on, all the way up until he got the title shot against Joseph Benavidez. And I even did it, you know what I mean? Everybody did. Everybody said, this is Joe B's moment. He's finally going to get the title. And in walks this Brazilian wrecking machine, and he beats the shit out of Joseph Benavidez twice. And he finally solidified himself as the best flyweight on the planet, and he was so slept on, especially the first time around. And now here he is. He's finally the champ. He's 19-1, and he's main eventing for the first time in his career a pay-per-view card. And he's taking on a guy in Alex Perez, who in very many ways is also a very slept-on guy. He gets to the UFC. He beats Eric. He fought his way into the Contender Series. For the record, also first Dana White Contender Series fighter to get a title shot, and he gets in. He beats a couple guys, unranked guys, Eric Shelton, and then he's facing Jose Shorty Torres, who I don't remember this kid, the most hyped flyweight prospect probably of all time. I don't know if people remember this guy, but he was like a two-weight champ. In like other divisions, I think it was like Titan FC or something, and he started off like 8-0 or something, and he just looked phenomenal. And he's facing Alex Perez, and Jose Shorty Torres is like a huge favorite, and Alex Perez beats the ever-loving shit out of him. And following that, Alex Perez ends up getting thrown to Joseph Benavidez, and which was a really terrible decision. I mean, he was still really young in his career. He's still only like 25 or whenever that fight happened. It was only like his third UFC fight. Ends up losing really badly. Since then, he rebounds. He beats the hell out of Mark De La Rosa, finishes Jordan Espinoza, and then faces Jussier Formiga, who was, formerly a top 5 guy in the division, and he batters and finishes him earlier this year. And finally, it took Cody Garbrandt getting an injury. I think it was a COVID or an injury, honestly. I don't remember. And he finally steps in, and he gets the title shot. And now he's the first Dana White Contender Series fighter to get a title shot, main eventing the two dudes who were very slept on, overlooked, and they're main eventing this huge pay-per-view card. I'll throw it straight to you, Angel. What do you think about the main event, and who do you got?
I mean, man, look, it's undisputedly Davis and Figueiredo, man. I mean, I really don't. The guy is freakishly strong for this division. He is. I can actually look down at him when I talk to him, and I'm not very tall, and he could beat my ass more easily than any human on this planet, probably. I think he could beat my ass quicker than DC could. Be 100% serious. The guy is a force to be reckoned with. Credit to Alex Perez. Great fighter. Good story. But he has that Joe B loss. That was a while back, bro. But it's like, man, you see, Joe B did to Alex Perez what Davis and Figueiredo did to Joe B. So yeah. It just, I'm sure they'll give us a great fight. The flyweight division is truly a great division. I hope it never goes away. This and I hope that I'm not saying this will be a slaughter fest. I really hope it isn't. I want it to be as fun as competitive as can be, because obviously no one wants to see someone get run over in a fight all the time, right? So hopefully we have a banger here.
I mean, look, man, I'm pretty conflicted on it, honestly, and that's just purely off of the fact that as good as Davis Figueiredo has looked his last couple fights, I also know that if you can get him past probably the second round, there's a huge path to victory. And Alex Perez is not just some scrub in there that, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not some guy that is just going to get run over. And he's a competent grappler. He's great cardio. And I think part of it is he's not really known, man. I mean, I can't think of a fighter that was like less known main eventing a pay-per-view card. I'm really surprised Valentina Shevchenko was not main eventing this card, honestly. And Alex Perez isn't a big name, and I get it, man. I mean, he's also not the most entertaining guy. I think he's had fun UFC fights, but overall, you know what I mean? But I gotta go with Davis Figueiredo, man. I truly believe that even with his downsides of, him, if you can grapple well, if you could be the more technical striker, you can't beat him. That's what Formiga did to beat him. He used great boxing. He used distance well. He mixed in the takedowns, and even then, he barely scraped by. So I gotta go Figueiredo, man. I do think it's gonna be a banger of a fight, though. I do think Alex Perez has a lot to bring to the table, and I think we're getting a straight up, potential fight of the night, fight of the year, contender in that main event. I just think Alex Perez, I'm really high on this kid. The Formiga win did a lot for me, and I've been watching his entire career, even from him beating up on Jose Torres back in 2017, man. I've been following this kid for a while, so I'm going to go Figueiredo, but don't be surprised if Alex Perez shocks the world on Saturday night. But moving on, there will be no shockers in the co-main event, though. I don't know if there's no. I'm not even trying to be mean, bro. But Valentina Shevchenko is a minus 1,700 favorite, and even that feels really low to me. Do your best to do some sort of analysis work for this co-main event.
I mean, dude, there's not too much to be done. I mean, let me tell you, it took Valentina Shevchenko, obviously, you got to the third round to finish Kaylin Shukagan, who's actually fighting on this card, fought not too long ago, which is crazy. She had a quick turnaround. What's your opinion on that real quick?
I guess we can get into that whenever we actually get into her fight, but that being said, I do think it's a bad decision. I think,
just to keep it short,
she just got TKO'd a month ago.
It was a body shot. I will say that, but still, a body shot is rough. But
that's pretty rough.
Okay, well, but yeah, in your opinion, it was.
We'll get into that in a minute. That's a fight I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. It was a quick turnaround, though. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Jennifer Maia fought her. Obviously, she they went the distance. Just with that, man. I mean, you could do the MMA math, as you would say, right?
You're like trying to like you're like trying to like think of something to say about Jennifer Maia because I don't know what to say about this fight, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like,
It's just the sad reality of this division where Valentina Shevchenko is just a very complete and very superior to most of the women in the division, sadly.
and here's the thing, man. It's not even like there's bad people in division because like Shevchenko's beaten the really really good ones in this division already. That's the problem. Like she beat Jessica Ai, and Jessica Ai is not a great fighter, but like, she at 125, she's pretty competent. She beat Liz Carmouche, who's a former contender, and then Caitlin Chookagian. And for the record, I don't think anybody's thought that that these fighters can bring anything to Shevchenko. But like I was like, oh, you know what, Carmouche beat her before, maybe there's something there. Jessica Ai, she's very very durable. She brings a lot of pressure. Maybe there's something there. Caitlin Chookagian literally has like a foot of height on her. Maybe she can use the reach advantage. I mean, yeah, they all got smashed, but I'm like, at least I could see an angle from where I'm like, oh, something interesting.
At this point, it's just looking for a weakness in her. But the thing is there even one?
Yeah, and Jennifer Maia's. I'm trying so hard. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Jennifer Maia, if you ever hear this, I'm so sorry for being mean. I'm not trying to be mean, but like, there's not a single area where Valentina Shevchenko is not twice as good as Jennifer Maia. Like, I can't.
Yeah, the grappling department, but even then, it's like she's no moron on the feet or on the ground. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean on the mat, I think Shevchenko's probably better too, man. I mean, I think like overall, Maia, I think if she has a way to get it there, it would be interesting because she's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. We saw her skills against Joanne Calderwood, right? But even then, she's not this huge submission. She's not Damian Maia. I mean, she has 5 submission wins in her career.
She's not Damian Maia.
She's not Damian Maia.
Sadly.
I mean, she was Damian Maia against poor Joanne Calderwood. I felt so bad. Like, I don't know why JoJo took that fight, but whatever. Yeah, man. I mean, that's the only reason why she's here. She's only here because Joanne Calderwood decided to step up on a week's notice because she's a badass and she lost her shot. And also, Calvillo had just fought, so like there was really not a whole lot of other options. But I mean, I guess the only interesting thing to ask is when do you think Shevchenko wins and how? I think that's more interesting than anything. Like, do you think she gets a win, gets a finish?
Because
with Shevchenko,
there has to be.
Yeah, I mean, but it's always like a 50-50 shot if she gets a finish or not. You know what I mean? Like.
But granted, but even if it isn't, dude, it goes too long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the Carmouche fight was really that fight kind of sucked. I remember like leaving during the 4th round, so I'll be honest with you guys, I don't even remember what that fight was so boring for the first 3. I did ask, didn't even watch the last two rounds, so maybe something happened and I forgot it. But yeah, that fight was really boring. But then like she'll just go out there for no reason and then just straight up style on Chookagian or knock out Jessica Ai or something. So it's a 50-50 shot on if she's gonna have like a really awesome dominant fight or if it's gonna be a decision with nothing that really happens. But I'm gonna go against a grain, man, and I'm gonna go Shevchenko 4. I think Jennifer Maia is really durable. She's only ever lost via TKO, and that was 8 years ago. So I think she's gonna lose. I think she's gonna end up losing in the championship rounds. But I do think. Yeah, I think she's gonna lose in the championship rounds. I think she'll get to the 4th though. I'll say it that way.
You sure, Josh? You don't think she'll Imanari roll into a heel hook and take her out?
I mean, I can't rule it out, but I mean, I'm not gonna. The odds are not in her favor.
The MMA, anything could happen is very hard, right? And her not too hard in her favor,
Yeah, I mean, do you think there's any upset potential here though? Like, do you think could you see a reality where Valentina Shevchenko loses this fight?
There's very few realities where I see Valentina Shevchenko losing any fight to any woman in that division. I'll tell you that.
I mean, okay, well, we're on
maybe none.
because we're going through this division and there's not a whole lot to talk about with this fight. Who do you think provides the most interesting challenge in that division for Shevchenko?
I mean, the newcomer and Jessica Andrade.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I am too.
I mean, obviously Lauren Murphy's on the table, right? She's kind of had that resurgence in herself, right? But even then, it's like, I don't know. I really don't have a lot of confidence in her. No hate.
No,
Don't
I think she's scrappy enough to make it interesting though.
you think she's scrappy enough? And then
She's really scrappy, bro.
and then,
I think she's pretty like.
and then sadly, if somehow like Roxy was like female Habib, you know, I'd be like, oh, you just got in the bag, right?
I've always said that I think Roxy provides interesting stylistic challenges, just in terms of her grappling. But there's only two people I think in that division who could beat her. Like I could see a reality.
Hmm.
Like, um, like I think they'd still lose, but I could see Calvillo and Andrade providing the closest reality where I could see them actually winning. And the only reason why I say those two is I could see obviously Andrade, muscling her around.
Which is
She's
crazy because she's
very,
so much smaller.
I know, but you know what I mean. Like she's super strong,
No. I know
huge
she's super
knockout.
strong. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. It's
Oh,
crazy.
okay. Yeah, huge knockout power, all that, great cardio and all that. Calvillo, the only reason why I threw her in there is just because she looked good at flyweight against just Guy, I thought, and she has really, really good scrambles. Like if she doesn't have good takedowns, but if she shot in on like a single leg and Shevchenko got lazy or something, I could see Calvillo getting the back and getting a submission, or like something along those lines. Like it's not likely, but those are the only two situations you ever see Shevchenko losing in that division.
Yeah, I'm saying this. Cynthia Calvillo looked really good in that just Guy fight. But granted, I hope this next fight really gives us an idea of where she's at, though.
Yeah, and I think if she loses to Shukagian, I think
That
that's
looks
really gonna
really
mess up that
bad.
division. It's gonna mess up that division, honestly, because I think it's
Yeah.
very clearly set up for either Andrade to get it, or if Calvillo wins, they got to do Calvillo Shevchenko just because they're on the same card.
Yeah. Yep, most definitely. If she loses, it really messes with stuff.
Yeah, but I guess moving on from there, we can move on to your boy, man. He
Who
missed
missed
weight,
weight? Who
missed
missed
weight,
weight?
but at the end of the day, it's all good.
Fuck it.
Mike Perry, Tim Means. This says a straight up
He's
fight of
going
the
for
night
that win
material.
bonus, bro. He's going for that knockout bonus and fight of the night bonus. He's going for both.
I mean, look, man,
Oh God.
this is a banger of a fight though. Like straight up. Like this is like I understand. A lot of people hate Mike Perry. I completely get it. Missed weight, abuses his girlfriend. I get it. On the
Which
other
one?
hand,
Yes.
have you seen them hands? Have you seen his fights? Like
Dude,
it's gonna
super
be
entertaining.
it's super entertaining. And then on the other side, you got Tim the Dirty Bird Means, who will forever be the most. I'd say he's the most underrated UFC fighter, man. I mean, this is a guy who's been in the UFC for 8 years now. He's never been the main event guy. He's never been a co-main event guy. He's just always slept on, man.
But he will
Um,
bang. He will bang, bro.
he will bang, bro. Wins over Sabaha Masi, George Sullivan, Diego Lima, Alex Garcia, Thiago Alves. Not huge dudes. Bobby Green, but um, he's not a huge name. But the dude just always comes to bang. He never loses like decisively. You know what I mean? Like, and he always just comes to bang. And I guess I'm gonna go against the grain here, man. I know who you're gonna pick, but I'm gonna go with Tim the Dirty Bird Means, man.
Dude,
I honestly think
I don't see it out of the reality. I'm not gonna lie to you. But, I got to stick with the boy
really,
Mike Perry. I got to root him on. I want him to fight Darren Till.
uh, dude, I think Tim Means is gonna fuck him up, man. I truly do. I think
he'll,
Tim Means is just
he'll fight
he's
a
getting.
smart fight for sure.
I don't. The man can't really fight smart fights, but I think he's gonna go out there and bang, and I think he's looked better recently, man. He's really looked like he's starting. It's weird because he's 36. He's been in the UFC for 8 years, but I really think he's starting to come strong.
But Josh, Mike Perry almost submitted Mickey Gall.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that fight and me trying not to shit on Mickey Gall. Like about like I remember thinking like, you know what, man? Like yeah, on one hand, Mickey Gall does have a corner, and he does have an actual coach, and he does have actual partners, but he's really bad at fighting. Like, but that fight was actually a lot of fun though. So shout out to them. I think Mike Perry's gonna lose though. I think there's a very likely chance he gets dominated. But
Man, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see tomorrow night.
we'll see tomorrow night. But moving on, man. We brought up earlier Kayla Shukagian, Cynthia Calvillo. Very, very interesting fight, just purely based off of the fact that like there's a lot of potential here for this fight to either be very, very entertaining or just straight up terrible. And I don't see a whole lot of in between. Um, but obviously, Shukagian's kind of a very, very well-rounded person in that division, which is rare, just because I feel like everybody in that division outside of Shevchenko is they're pretty much a specialist. You know what I mean? Jennifer Maia, not very competent on the feet, but can go ahead and get it down to the mat. Andrade, monster on the feet, not really great on the mat. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. This one is kind of interesting to me because Calvillo is that specialist. She's very clearly the better grappler, but she's also so much smaller. And she is very, very small in terms of height, and she's not like Shevchenko where she can actually use her striking advantage, because I'd say she's pretty competent on the feet. She's got some good boxing, good 1-2s, but she's nothing insane. So who do you got in that fight, my man?
No, I'm going to take Cynthia Calvillo just because I want the flow of division to continue. You know what I mean? Also, I thought she was really fun in her last fight. I thought she looked good, like, decently well around. And obviously the ground game, obviously there's no question about it. But, I like I said, I think she'll pull it out. And then, I don't know, that turnaround, that's something that, I don't know. I don't like that, especially a body shot, dude. Like, I know it's not like a head injury or a typical head knockout. But, I don't know what's going on in the internals. You never know. And, I mean, hopefully it's a smart choice for her. But at the same time, I don't know. Even though it was a body shot, I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. And I think the thing is, like, yeah, obviously, it's a body shot, right? It's not like she's got completely destroyed in there. I mean, she did actually get destroyed, but you know what I mean. I don't like that quick turnaround either. I mean, even if it was a bottle shot, she did take some damage in there, and she's facing Calvillo. And I mean, I've always been a big Cynthia Calvillo fan. I think like she has one loss in her career, and I actually thought she won that fight against Carla Esparza, like 3 or 4 years back. I think she's found a good division for her. I do think she's obviously, not very big height wise, but I think that she can use her grappling in that division really, really well. So yeah, man, I'm gonna go Cynthia Calvillo as well, and I hope after this she gets a title shot. I think she would deserve it more than Andrade. For the same point, I do think Andrade should be the more fun fight. So I think it'll be interesting to see to go from here, because obviously those are the only two fights I feel like would actually be interesting for that division. Like I brought up earlier how I could see situations where somebody might be able to beat Shevchenko in her past fights, but those are the only two where I could actually see it happening. You know what I mean? More than just, oh, that'd be interesting. But moving on to the main card opener, it's a rematch. Shogun Rua, Paul Craig, the weirdest MMA rivalry I've ever seen. I guess they had bad blood in their first fight. I remember seeing their weigh-ins, so like they were in each other's faces and shit. Same thing happened at this weigh-ins. Like Shogun shoved him because Paul Craig got in his face, and it was bizarre, man. But who do you got in the MMA's weirdest rematch of all time?
Dude, we gotta root on the legend, man. We gotta root, Shogun, man. We gotta make sure the old man stays in it. Still ranked. Come on, man.
Still ranked. And listen, man, I mean, you can't even argue against him being ranked either. I mean, that's the thing I like to bring up people. People bring up Shogun as being super washed, and he is, absolutely. He's been washed since 2007. And that's not even a joke either. I mean, people like to bring up Shogun as like, oh, he won the title in 2010. But it's like, dude, I feel like a lot of people forget just how bad Shogun winning the title, the UFC light heavyweight title, is one of the most. It is such a insane to me thing. Like it's so insane to me just because if you ever saw his fights when he first came to the UFC, he lost to Forrest Griffin, obviously, one of the biggest upsets of all time.
Shout out Forrest Griffin.
Shout out Forrest Griffin. Beast, you know what I mean? And then Mark Coleman, who was 46 at the time, was winning up until like the final 15 seconds. And he ends up gassing out, loses. He ends up knocking out Chuck Liddell, who is completely down on the downslope at that point. He ends up losing to Lyoto by a decision, and then he ends up knocking out Lyoto. But anyways, he's been washed since 2007, right? I think the last time we saw Prime Shogun was like whenever he knocked out Overeem for the second time. So like, it's interesting that still he's around, but like, dude, one loss in his last like 7 fights, and that's to Anthony Smith, who's actually like a pretty good fighter at 205. Doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go Shogun as well, man. I think their first fight, he probably should have won. I don't see how that – I remember that fight being a draw, and I was like, that's a pretty strange decision. But regardless, man, I think that's a really good fight to remake, just because I know they both wanted that one back, because for some reason they have a weird rivalry with one another. But whatever, man. Moving on. Is there anything on the undercard you wanted to talk about?
Actually, we got a banger in the prelim, dude. At the very top of the prelim, dude. Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Roval. Both Brandons. Brandon. Potential next contender after this fight for that belt at flyweight. Potential, right? Would you say?
I mean, it's got to be, right. I mean,
He's not far from it.
I don't know who else you'd put. I mean, Garbrandt.
Yeah. Unless, maybe they fight one more fight, and I think if they did, Askarov would be the option, and then after that, you have the undisputed number one contender in that weight class.
I mean, yeah, man. I think it has to be one of those two. It really has to be, man. But regardless, I do think it is a
banger.
It's a straight up banger, man. It's a really, really good fight. And I think, like I said, the winner of that one has to get a title shot. If not, that'd be bullshit. Like I don't. I gotta say, man, it'd be complete bullshit. If they don't get that. And yeah, man, I like No Love. I like Cody Garbrandt, but at the same point, if he went to come down and fight, he lost that title shot because he got hurt. That'd be one thing, man. And he should fight for that title shot to get it back. Because at that point, Moreno or Brandon Royval would deserve it more. But regardless, that's a banger of a fight, bro. But there's a couple others, man. Joaquin Buckley is back. And then Anthony Shevchenko taking on Ariana Lipski. This one would be very interesting to me because Ariana Lipski has become MMA Twitter's darling ever since she got that awesome knee bar win back in July. And she's an interesting prospect. I know she lost her first two whenever she came into the UFC. Since then, she's won 2 in a row. And a win over here would put her kind of in that top 15, top 10 area. And that'd be really fun. And then if Shevchenko wins, then, that would be interesting as well. I do think Shevchenko, we all saw kind of that hype die down since she came into the UFC. I mean, Katlyn Chookagian beat the fuck out of her. That was hard to watch. I don't remember if you remember that fight earlier this year. Whatever Anthony was shook on Katlyn Chookagian. That was a straight up 30-24 type fight, bro. She took her down. She Khabib'd her, bro. That was hard to watch at some points. But regardless, she's backing on her Lipski. Daniel Rodriguez, Nicholas Dalby is a low-key banger opening up the ESPN prelims. And then Alan Joban is back. Shout out. I don't even know what his nickname is. I was just saying Model Man because I know that he models in his spare time, and that's the reason why he doesn't fight. Yeah, I know that's why he doesn't fight much, but shout out Model Man. He's coming back. I know there was a while there when I really thought oh man, Alan Joban, he's a pretty good prospect, man. And then
he fought Mike Perry. He beat Mike Perry.
Yeah, didn't you beat Belal Muhammad too?
He beat Belal Muhammad, who's ranked now, yeah.
Yeah, he was on a 3-fight win streak. He ended up losing to Gunnar Nelson, knocked out Manico Price, beat Ben Starnes, and lost to Dwight Grant over a year and a half ago. That was his last fight. But overall, man, banger of a card. You guys should tune in Saturday night. Absolute banger of a card. But moving on to the NBA, man. I'm going to let you take the lead on this one because I know that you're more kind of in tune with the draft stuff. So go ahead and do your best ability. Kind of give us a quick recap for us that did not watch the draft of some of the big moves that happened.
Okay, so at base level, like I was telling you before the podcast, a lot of the teams in the draft made overall the right decision, which never really happens, or at least how some draft experts put it. Teams will make choices that it's why would you pick that guy when you had this other guy here, which did still happen, but a lot of teams picked the right guy at the right moment, and a lot still didn't. But as far as at the top 3, they went as expected. Number 1, Anthony Edwards. There was a lot of talk about LaMelo potentially being 1, but Anthony Edwards went 1 overall. 2, James Wiseman, the big man, another top guy. Obviously the Warriors and for the longest time have never had a good just a solid center, to put it like that. Now they have that in this young prospect with their new lineup, and new in a sense because sadly we found out about the Klay Thompson injury, right? The Achilles tear, which not too long after finding out about that, they acquired Kelly Oubre from the Oklahoma City Thunder, who was sent to them via the Phoenix Suns. for Chris Paul and some other stuff, and a lot of stuff's been going on in OKC in that regard. But the new the new Golden State lineup as it stands right now is Steph Curry, Kelly Oubre, James Wiseman, Draymond Green, and Andrew Wiggins going into the 2021 season. So a different look than what it's been in the past, and then whatever they have on the fucking bench, to put it lightly. And then we had LaMelo Ball going to Charlotte at number 3, which is interesting with the whole LeVar situation and Jordan being the owner of Charlotte and LeVar saying he can beat Jordan one-on-one. I'm sure that maybe that one-on-one will happen, and if it ever does, bless us all, and hopefully we can see it on live television at some point, or it will be streamed somewhere for our pleasure. Along with that, I mean, man, hopefully the big guard rotation coming out of Charlotte, the rumor with Russell Westbrook, hopefully that doesn't happen, because that's a lot of guards at Charlotte, but granted, Charlotte's never been in a very good position in a long time in the NBA, so why the fuck not have Russell Westbrook there as well? There was a lot of moves on draft night, too many to recap, but that's kind of like the top 3 guys, the guys everybody really wants to know about. Some guys fell out of expected landing. A lot of guys went later than what was expected, but I just want to put it out there, keep an eye on Killian Hayes, Cole Anthony, Obi with the Knicks. Just a couple guys you're gonna keep an eye on, and Okongwu. And let me tell you this, Josh, the OKC picked up a nice little lot on draft night too, so keep an eye on all those young dudes there. It's gonna be a fun year for you guys and seeing them develop. But as far as draft night, that's kind of like a small little overview on what happened.
Yeah, it's gonna be a couple of fun years watching guys develop. I mean, I guess we can get into all the big moves at this point, because OKC basically dealt the majority of the roster, which is, I mean, honestly, it's a good move. I mean, but we could get into that. And the move that really involves your team that we talked about last week, and now we can actually talk about the deal itself. CP3 going to the Suns. I know you were not really big on it, but I guess now we can talk about the haul itself. You guys lost Rubio. You lost... Who else did you lose in that? I know you also lost another first rounder, and then I believe you guys lost somebody else who was big.
Gave up Oubre. You got Oubre.
Thank you. What were your thoughts on that move, man? Because I feel like that was kind of I saw some people saying
there was a lot of worry, man. There was a lot of worry because first when that move was heard of, we thought the 10th pick was going to have to be given up, which some people thought was wasted on draft night. We still don't know. That kid has a lot of time to show what he's capable of, and give up either Mikal Bridges or Cam Johnson, which would have been a fucking huge L, and then something else. Luckily, none of that happened. They give up Ricky Rubio, future pick. I don't know if it's future picks, but something in the future. Like I said, Ricky Rubio, Oubre, I had to recap out of my head real quick, and Jalen McHugh, which I did like Jalen McHugh. I thought he was a fun guy with some potential. Nothing special yet, nothing super out there, but I would have loved to see him kind of develop more. Sadly, we didn't get that, and in return we got what is it? CP3, obviously, and one more guy who I can't think of who was part of the OKC roster too. With that, and now that it's done, man. I mean, it's hopefully he helps the culture. Kind of like a big thing that I heard is like there was something that I heard from some other people on Reddit was like, look, Booker was already good, and people make a lot of fun of Booker for being not on a good team and obviously having no stats because he's not on a good team. And it's like, look, if Booker's putting up with these stats already and he's not on a good team, now that he has another good player that will make him better, and then also take some of the baggage off him. How much better is Booker going to get now? This is going to be the first time we ever see Booker with someone else who's really good, insanely good, and see how he does. And obviously with the showmanship of the team and kind of the how they came to life a little bit in the bubble, we get to see how that comes along in this following year, and see how this new team works about, and hopefully, and obviously the offseason's not over. There's after talks of Dario Saric being moved, or I think he might be a free agent already, and they're trying to figure out what's going to happen there. They're going to re-sign him or not, because they picked up a power forward. I'm guessing thinking that he might go, and then obviously there's still a possibility that someone could get picked up on the offseason. So as far as the move, man, we get to see what happens. Booker finally gets a great player to play next to him, and you see how it goes.
Yeah, man. I think that really it'll be interesting to watch you guys next year, just purely off the fact that that team was already clicking at the end of last year. Now adding an amazing player on top of that, one that'll actually probably help those guys develop even further. Like maybe the Hall, we'll have to see, next season, year 2 down the line, if it was too much. But I do think it's a really interesting move. But moving on to more OKC moves, considering they decided to trade the entire fucking roster. They traded Dennis Schroeder to the Lakers for a single first-round pick. A lot of people kind of came away with the idea that one was a good move for the Lakers. And OKC, normally, they're used to dudes. They're used to fleecing dudes, right? That was a move where a lot of people thought, oh, damn, OKC probably could have gotten more for Schroeder. He was an amazing point guard on not an insane contract either. So they probably could have gotten more out of him. But in return, they got Danny Green. Oh, man, what is OKC going to do with Danny Green? NBA champ, former, just an overall great, not recently been great, but formerly a great dude. He did struggle last year for the Lakers, but still great to have on the roster. Oh, wait, no, never mind. Whenever we went ahead and traded him to the 76ers, he was on the roster for a day. Oh, and you know how we mentioned Ricky Rubio earlier? He's gone as well. He's to the Timberwolves. Oh, yeah, also Oubre, he's to the Warriors. But the bigger news, not only did they trade Danny Green, they traded Danny Green to the 76ers, and they got a first-rounder, a second-rounder, and former All-Star Al Horford. That was an interesting move, man. What did you think about that move? Because, I mean, I'm pretty conflicted on it. I understand why it happened, but I felt like the 76ers gave up a lot just to get rid of Al Horford.
Hey, man, they just wanted him out. I think they knew that Al Horford was not going to help their team, and they needed to figure something out. And in return, they ended up, or I forgot, I don't know exactly. See, a lot of these trades were multi-team trades, so that's why it's taking us a little bit to figure it out. But yeah, man, I mean, they just want him out. And honestly, I don't know. I feel like the Sixers aren't going to be complaining a lot for what they got. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be an interesting move because this also tells me another thing. It'll be interesting to see who is left on that roster from OKC on the side of will it be Steven Adams or will it be Al Horford? Because I truly believe that we're not going to have both those guys on the team at the start of the season. Obviously, that's probably just me being stupid and looking into things that aren't really there. But I just don't think that's going to work, especially considering this is a team that is looking to acquire more draft picks, and I truly doubt that we're going to keep both those guys on there. But I guess moving on to more news. A move I really, really liked. Bucks trading for Jrue Holiday. I fucking love this move, bro. I really, really do. In terms of them getting somebody who is not a huge, he's not like a huge name, you know what I mean? He's not going to change a roster on his own. But I do think he's somebody that's going to go a long way in improving that team. What were your thoughts of the Bucks getting him?
Dude, I mean, what a good pickup. I mean, I'm talking about a guy who can, I mean, I think he's just, without getting into the all specifics right now and just giving you a general, it's a really solid pickup. Like, maybe he's not necessarily a sharpshooter, but the guy creates some spacing, takes some pressure off Giannis, takes some pressure off Middleton. They did lose Bledsoe and George Hill. I think if they would have kept George Hill, that would have been nice. I think Bledsoe they could have been gone with, and that would have been okay. I wouldn't have been crying about the Bledsoe loss because Bledsoe was good for them, but it wasn't enough. And I think Holiday just brings in a good energy to the team. Just a solid guy, and a guy who I think didn't have any intention of staying with New Orleans for the long run, anyways. And even a while back, I thought he wanted to be out to begin with. So I think he kind of got exactly what he wanted, and he's in a winning situation. He's next to Giannis, MVP, and Middleton, and they got a nice little solid rounded team there. And I'm sure they're not done yet. The Bogdan trade hasn't happened yet because Bogdan is not a free. Or I don't know exactly what the thing is. He doesn't necessarily have to go to the Bucks. They would have got him if he would have been available to trade, but he is something happened there. I don't know all the details for it, but he's gonna sign with a team. We don't know if it's the Bucks or not yet. I don't know if he's looking for money or not, but I think that'd be a good spot for him too, because that's another spacer. Like I said, I talked about this last year. I feel like what they needed was to get guys who space the floor to take pressure off Giannis, so the pin is open and they're on the guys who are at the three ready to shoot when Giannis can't drive in.
Yeah, and I think generally speaking, as far as moves go, I think you got to hit the nail on the head. What a great pickup. I think there's a lot to do that they're gonna have to fix that roster. But generally speaking, I think this is one of those moves that they're gonna go. I don't think they need all-star guys around Giannis. Like they need good players, but players that just fit better would honestly, a guy like this would do a lot more um, than actually just throwing a lot of money at a guy like a Chris Paul. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Throwing a lot more money at a guy that would be a higher name value, but not providing as much to the team. I think getting Drew is a huge pickup for them, and I think he's going to go a long way in improving that team for the future. But yeah, but moving on to I think our last big bit of news and the worst news. Klay Thompson, obviously we all knew about the return. He tore his ACL in Game 6 of the NBA Finals in 2019, which feels like a century ago. He was looking to return, and in practice, he tore his Achilles. He's expected to make a full recovery, but that doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of
Different leg, by the way. I do want to put that out there.
We should emphasize that. Different leg. He tore his ACL in his left leg, tore his Achilles in his right leg, or it could be the other way around. I'm not really sure. I believe that's true though. But I mean, what impact does this do for Klay? Obviously, you're kind of more basketball historian than I am, and I know that we both kind of know how bad Achilles injuries are for dudes.
We're well aware, man. We're well aware.
Yeah.
One of the a good example. Not to bring up any sad memories, but Kobe, after the Achilles tear, really wasn't really
The same.
really wasn't the same, and especially for a shooter, dude. You're talking about mechanics might not be the same anymore. He wasn't an athletic, super explosive guy, right? He didn't necessarily need the ball in his hand to perform, which is also a good thing. But obviously, you obviously don't want to be in this. Obviously, ideally, he comes back, he's normal, no difference. But who knows how far that is from the reality? Because we're talking about a guy who has a lot of miles on his legs, and is definitely put a lot of pressure on his body because of making it to the NBA Finals and playing a lot of games, or playing a lot more games than a lot of guys who don't make it and just having to play his heart out day in and day out. And I'm sure he has a very strong work ethic, so not even just in the league but outside of the league during the offseason, obviously putting that work in. It's heartbreaking, man. Obviously, I out of all the Warriors, I like Klay a lot. It really sucks to see him be in the situation he's in, and hopefully makes a good, speedy, healthy recovery, takes his time, and then is 95 to 99% of who he was before the injury.
Yeah, and it just really sucks, man. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was not looking forward to the Golden State return of all those amazing players, Dre, Steph, and Clay, and I knew they probably would, they probably mess stuff up again as far as the league goes, but you know what I mean. This still really sucks. I would prefer to see them lose in the way of, actually being beaten by an actual team. It's the same way in the Raptors, whenever the Raptors won. I never felt that great about it because you could tell it was just due to injuries. And this is just another thing that sucks, honestly. So yeah, wish the best for Klay. As far as Golden State goes, he's always the guy that everybody hated Golden State whenever they were just dominating back in 2016, 2017. But everybody's like, you know what, Clay's a pretty cool guy. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there was no villain part about it.
everybody's like, fuck Draymond, you know.
I mean,
And
yeah, I mean Draymond's actually like he's a super dirty player, but you know what I mean? Like even Steph, some people were like, you know, Steph's arrogant, you know what I mean? Nobody could find a single bad word to say about Clay. Like he's such a cool dude, which in a league full of dramatic and over the top dudes, like to find somebody who's just kind of like a relatively normal guy who's pretty chill is extremely rare. But yeah, man, that sucks. But uh, moving on from the NBA and all that that has happened over the last week, we can move on to the NFL. Listen, man, there's some stuff to talk about. So I guess you got any questions? Just go ahead and shoot them straight out there, my man.
oh man, did a lot happen, Josh? I didn't keep up well last week. Did a lot did I miss out?
I mean, I'd say the most interesting thing is that the Patriots have God on their side, even all these years later. Um, with Cam, you know, even with Tom Brady leaving, Bill Belichick still has a deal with Satan or God. I'm not sure which one.
Whoever it is, and you know it's one of the two.
Because absolutely, I mean, I'm sure you didn't see it. Patriots Ravens played in a hard fought game. I mean, it came down to the wire, and I told people, you know, the Ravens are clearly the better team, but the Patriots are going to play them tough. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they won, and they ended up winning. And what happened was Patriots were leading pretty much the entire game. Gets down to the fourth quarter, Ravens start making a comeback, and they get the ball with like a minute left. They're down by 6, and it's been raining all game, but then like a downpour. Like you cannot. It was the type of rain where it's like it's raining super hard. You can't see like 2 feet in front of you. It was that type of rain, and the Ravens just got the ball and all of a sudden just start pouring down like you couldn't see, dude. And they quickly go 3-and-out. They end up losing the game, and then as soon as the Patriots get the ball back to do the final kneel down, it stops raining. Like it was, it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life. But yeah, man, I mean, there was a couple things that happened. I mean, the Seahawks disappointed again, but they actually won on Thursday Night Football last night. Buccaneers got back on the winning trail. The Giants, man, I told people, bro, the NFC East is the worst thing of all time. I think we just need to get rid of it. Just throughout the entire division, because the New York Giants are about to be in first place, my guy. The 3-7 New York Giants, who are down to like their third string running back, are playing with like a rookie, not a rookie QB, a second year QB in Daniel Jones. They've won 2 in a row, and they just beat the Eagles, and now they're in second place. What a life, man! What a life to be the fan of an NFC East team. I mean, even like the only really good story. Here's the thing: nothing good happened last week. I guess that's the kind of the point I'm getting to. Nothing good happened last week. I think the Browns Texans game, which was supposed to be that was like a game I highlighted to be fun. That ended up being a 10-7 game. And then if there was one single good part, it was that it was gonna be Alex Smith, comeback player of the year, man. I mean, we talked about it the week before. Like he broke his leg and then he nearly died. He had 17 surgeries. I mean, something like 5 infections, one of which was a blood infection that literally almost killed him. He's making his first start, and he throws 70% completion, 390 yards. He comes back from 24 down. This is a man playing on one leg to come back from 24 down. He's playing on the road, first start in 2 years. You know what happens? He ties up the game. They're about to go to overtime. And then Chase Young, the Washington football team's first-round pick, does a stupid hit roughing the passer quarterback, like hits the quarterback with like 10 seconds to go. And then their kicker ends up hitting a 60-yard field goal, and the
Holy
Washington
shit, Josh!
football
Holy
team,
shit!
Oh god!
Oh
god! No, the Washington football team ends up losing the game. So it was a shitty week last week. Yeah, man. I hope this week's more fun.
Oh boy! And then once again the Steelers continue to stay undefeated. I need to ask you, Josh. Is their schedule just easy? Or are they just good?
This Pittsburgh team reminds me a lot of the 2013 Kansas City Chiefs, and that's not I know I make comparisons to the Chiefs all the times, like all the time. I mean,
It's a
but
hometown
like
team, man. It's a hometown team. Like no one can
I
say
know,
that.
but if I can't think of like a team that's more accurate than that. I mean, if you guys going back 7 years, they weren't a great team, but they had a really easy schedule. They're coming off of a bad year, and they had a really easy schedule, and they had a great running game, okay quarterback play, and a great defense. But due to their schedule being so easy, they kind of just coasted. They start off 9-0. The Steelers are currently 9-0. And now I wouldn't say their schedule was as easy as the Chiefs' schedule back in the day. The Chiefs' 2013 schedule was the easiest thing I've ever seen for the first 9 games. But Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, look, Giants 3-7, Broncos 3 wins, Texans 2 wins, Eagles 3 wins, Browns 6 wins, Titans 6 wins, good games there. Ravens also 5 or 6 wins, Cowboys terrible team, Bengals not a very good team either. So they have faced some good teams in there, but it's really just they're built off the back of that defense and their running game. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Ben Roethlisberger, that's the only reason why they're good is because, I mean, he's had to switch his style, but he's not playing like the Ben Roethlisberger of old, man. I mean, he's being more protective of the ball, and he's not as mobile anymore because he's very clearly older, but. I think it's a little bit of column A, column B. I don't think they're the best team in the AFC, even close. In fact, I'd take the Chiefs over them. I think I'd even take the Ravens over them, even as like an overall better team. I think I'd take the Ravens, and then maybe even somebody like the Bills, man. I mean, there's multiple teams I'd take over the Steelers. I just don't think come playoff time the Steelers are always shit the bed, which I think is the reason why I'm not a believer in them, and I don't see this year being any different.
Alrighty. Now I have questions for. Okay, so Josh, this week, Kansas City Chiefs are rematching the Las Vegas Raiders. In comparison to what happened in the last game, and now, do you think the outcome will be different? Should it be different? Should we be worried if there isn't a difference?
No, just because I think that the Chiefs have like a game or two let down every single year. I mean, this is what the Andy Reid Chiefs do. I mean, and that's not to say that that's a bad thing because I'd prefer a letdown game against a bad team or an okay team rather than losing in the playoffs to like a really, really good team, which is what they avoided last year, not losing in the playoffs at all. But even going back last year, man, I mean, who did we lose to last year? That was like a not a. There's a couple of teams within the last few years I can think of off the top of my head. But just in 2019, if I were to go back and think for a minute, it was like we lost to the Titans when we shouldn't have. We lost to the Colts whenever we shouldn't have. Those were two let down games. Going back to 2018, there was a couple of other games as well. We lost to the Chargers whenever we shouldn't have. And the Seahawks as well. I mean, there was a couple of games each year whenever the Chiefs just play down to their opponent. Their opponent isn't even a bad team. They just, they should beat them, and they didn't. And I think that was the case with the Raiders earlier this year, but I don't think they're going to win again. I mean, that's not even being a hometown fan. The Chiefs, and particularly Andy Reid, are historically good coming out of the bye, and they had the bye week, and which means they're basically having 2 weeks to prep for the Raiders. And the way that the Chiefs are talking about it, they are pissed off heading into this game. And even Andy Reid is pissed off. I believe it's something about like how the Raiders took like a victory lap whenever they won an Arrowhead earlier this year. So I fully expect the Chiefs to honestly putting an ass whooping on them. Like this team's very, very, very fired up for this game, and it's the first time in a long time where both these teams are good. I mean, the Raiders are getting overlooked, but they're still a really, really good team. There's like, even though the record isn't super impressive, they're still a good team. And the Chiefs are still building up talent, man. That's the thing, man. Even if they lose this game, they're still a really, really good team. I mean, they just picked up DeAndre Baker, who was a first round pick in 2019. He ended up getting released because there was from the New York Giants, because this is a crazy story which we haven't talked about at all. He was a young kid, got accused of armed robbery and aggravated assault, and apparently it turned out there was what was it? the testimony that the lawyers got was paid off, and that like the opposite side, the state attorney, is like being sued for the case against DeAndre Baker, and that basically it was basically just bullshit in order to try and charge this dude. So basically, and now he's signed to the Chiefs, and he was one of the top rookies last year. So they're just adding more talent to the defensive side of the ball as well. So that's a long story to say. I fully expect the Chiefs to beat the shit out of the Raiders on Sunday.
Showtime, baby.
I mean, look, man, playing in prime time too, man. I mean, prime time, Chiefs always show up. That's just one of those things, especially with Mahomes' era. This Mahomes era, I mean, the last time we saw him in prime time was that asshole when they put on the Ravens, and the Ravens are, arguably the second best team in the league.
Alrighty, Josh. Any games you want to highlight for this week? Anything we should keep an eye out on? Anything you want to bring to the table as usual?
Well, I mean, the Raiders game, like you brought up, I'd say is a really good one. Bucks-Rams is going to be an interesting game, just pretty based off the fact that, like, the Rams are low-key, like, a really good team. Like, they're somehow getting slept on, which is bizarre to me, because, like, the Rams weren't very good last year, and because of that, everybody kind of gave up on them. But the year before, they tried to form that super team, it's the closest thing I've seen to a super team in the NFL, because they went ahead and they picked up a bunch of dudes in free agency. I mean, they lured Sam Shields out of retirement, who's like a former All-Pro cornerback. They got Ndamukong Suh. They had Aaron Donald. They signed a bunch of great dudes, bro, and they ended up getting to the Super Bowl and they ended up losing. And following that, they had all these dudes on contracts, or they had to get rid of them. And they ended up, trading Todd Gurley. They ended up getting rid of a bunch of dudes in order to, make that roster work. And they trimmed the fat off that roster. And now it's just, what is it? It's basically just Sean McVay and Jared Goff going out there balling out and doing very simple plays, trying to get their offense down to fundamentals, because they're down a lot of those dudes who kind of made that Super Bowl roster. But still, they got a lot of talent on the defensive end. They still got a lot of talent on the offensive end, and they are probably the best team in the NFC West. And the Buccaneers are legit. I mean, they're still a great team. I do think they're going to get shown up at playoff time, but whatever. Browns-Eagles, we'll see if the Browns can continue winning. I think that's the most interesting story of the season. The Browns, that would be their 7th win of the year if they could beat the Eagles. If the Eagles don't win, then I fully expect the New York Giants to pass them in the standings. What a fucking year. And Alex Smith's comeback story Alex Smith's comeback story continues. I mean, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, I fully expect that game to be a shootout, just because here's the thing. I was talking to my buddy TJ about this. Alex Smith, ever since he got injured, we've seen him play in 3 games, and every single game he's just gone balls out for no reason. Like, he's always been a conservative quarterback. He's always throwing the check down passes. He's doing the safe decisions. And then in the Giants game, and last week it's the Lions, the dude just went crazy. He's at 300. He's throwing for 300 plus 2 games in a row, and he threw 55 passes last week. He's just looking ridiculous, man. So Titans-Ravens should be fun as well. It's a rematch of a playoff game last year. But yeah, I think that's it, man. I think that's it for the NFL this week.
Awesome. Thank you for all your input as always.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm glad I can help. But moving on to, I think it's our last bit of news. Canelo Alvarez, he's back. After all the talk about will he fight in 2020, all the drama with him and Golden Boy and Oscar de la Hoya, he's gonna fight, and he's taking on one of the best fighters on the planet. I mean, look, man, I want to see this fight last year whenever it was talked about, after he beat Kovalev. We were talking about what's next for him. We're going to see Canelo Alvarez, Callum Smith, with fans, Alamo Dome, San Antonio, December 19th. It's happening, boys. It's happening for the WBA and the Ring super middleweight titles. Obviously, Canelo Alvarez, 53-1-2. It should be 53-2-1. Never going to forget that Triple G robbery. Regardless, taking on Callum Smith, one of the UK's brightest prospects, man. Long kid, long, lanky, huge power in both hands. Great with the distance. 27-0. Wins over George Groves, John Ryder, Nicky Holtzkin. I mean, Rocky Felding. The dude is a monster, all right? And he is 6'3". I mean, we saw, him, Canelo take on Kovalev. And Kovalev is a big light heavyweight. Bro, Callum Smith is significantly bigger than Kovalev. So look, man, this is an awesome fight right here. What do you think about the matchmaking? What do you think about the fact that it is happening so soon? And what do you think about Callum stepping up to the plate and taking on a very dangerous opponent for a guy that, I mean, we knew Canelo was coming back this year in December. He was trying to get a short notice fight. What do you think about Callum stepping up also on short notice?
Hey man, I mean, I'm sure they get. Look, let me tell you this: with boxing, there's always deals or some talk always going on in the back. I'm sure this deal's probably been done for a while. It was just a whether, I'm sure they were trying to figure out whether or not it was going to happen or not because of COVID or anything like that. Because Canelo's been training like a lot during the past last months. I've seen it on his Instagram. I've seen videos on Ryan's Instagram and on YouTube and everything. So I'm sure these guys are ready. I'm sure these guys are in fighting shape. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're talking about the top of the top when it comes to professional athletes. I've always said, I think the best conditioned athlete in the world is maybe or probably a boxer. Which I'm sure I'm going to get some hate for that. I'm sure some people will disagree, but I truly do. What'd you say, Josh?
Scrub.
I'm sure some people will complain about that. But these guys, they're professionals, man. And Canelo only fights, or at this point in his career, or right now as it is, he will only have like names or title fights, or or super good. I mean, if it's someone who doesn't have a title, I mean, they have to be like very clearly kicking everybody's ass, who is not him, who is near him, So I mean, as far as an opponent, I mean, matchmaking is good, and I mean, super middleweight. I mean, I'm sure he's making his way slowly back down from light heavy to super middleweight, and we'll see him back in middleweight not so long from now.
Yeah, man, and I think it's an absolute banger of a fight. I think that's the thing that I'm super excited for. And listen, I know a lot of people aren't sold on Callum anymore. Everybody thought, oh shit, Callum might be the dude. You know what I mean? And then he had kind of a bad performance against John Ryder. I'm not going to pretend that was not a bad performance. But listen, man, styles make fights, and I think he's actually a really interesting stylistic matchup for Canelo. He's a long, lanky dude, lots of power, and he's actually really, really big. And I understand it's one thing for it's one thing for Canelo to fight a guy like Kovalev, who's much bigger, but he's also older, and he's had a lot of miles and a lot of damage done to him. He's 37, been knocked out a couple times, and also, for the record, something that we forget about a lot, Kovalev was a month removed from an absolute fucking war against Anthony Yard. I mean, that was the fact that he even
Shout
got
out Anthony Yard though, dude.
Yeah, I mean, but real talk though, the fact that fight even got commissioned, I mean, I don't know if people remember this, man.
But shout out Kovalev too for pulling it back around.
No, absolutely, but he that was an absolute war where he got dropped and had a lot of brain damage for sure, bro. And then he turns around 2 months later and he's fighting Canelo. I mean, I'm surprised that one even got sanctioned, but regardless, that was an awesome win by Canelo. But listen, man, Callum's younger. He's bigger than Kovalev. I understand it's a weight class difference, but I'm not sure how Callum even makes super middleweight. He should be a straight up legit light heavyweight. But regardless, I think it's a very interesting fight. But I'll ask you, who are you leaning towards this early for the fight?
Man, we're still far out in a sense, but I'm gonna tell you this, dude. Like, I feel like no matter what in life, like even knowing there's always been doubt in Canelo, no matter what. I feel like a little bit, even when it's been Canelo, people are always gonna be like, well, there's always a possibility, right? It's always been there, without a doubt, right? But he's always in a way proven us wrong, and I think that doesn't stop here today.
Fair enough. So it sounds like you're going with Canelo.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fair enough. And I guess I said this is going to be our last piece of news. I do have one more. It seems it hasn't been confirmed, but so Logan Paul is going to fight Floyd Mayweather, right?
I don't know, dude. I did want to talk about that, but that's been a whole situation.
I mean, it's going to happen though, right? I mean, we can go ahead and say that now.
I don't know. That's a lot of money, bro. I don't care. I take it. I get knocked out. Fuck it.
Look, man. I mean, I don't know what to say about it because it's very clearly. I mean, it's I'm not sure how it would even be sanctioned. I'm not sure.
Exhibition, no matter what. Come on.
It's an exhibition, but still, I mean, I mean, Mike and Roy had to get sanctioned by the California State Athletic Commission. You know what I mean? I'm not. I don't know what weight they're gonna fight at. I guess I'm waiting for more details, but the fact that they're actually calling each other out now, like I thought it was maybe bullshit before this, because Floyd even came out and said it was bullshit. I'm really conflicted on it, man. Like I don't.
If it happens, man. But it's for the bag. I mean, it's for the bag. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, man, it's totally for the bag. I just can't wait for it to happen, and then for us to get on and do like an hour-long preview, like we did for, Logan and KSI too. So.
I mean, it's also a banger though. It's the.
But yeah, man. I mean, I don't even know what to say. But I hope you guys like this episode of the Courtside Soundoff podcast. If you did, we appreciate you guys listening as always. Shout out to Rogue Energy, great sponsor. I'm at Josh Soundoff on Twitter. He's at _1. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter, it's at Courtside Sound 1. We're available on all platforms as always. But that's all we got here. So peace and bud grease. Mouse click.